Wembley, Wembley. We are the collapsing pocket and we went to Wembley. The first London fixture to go into overtime brings about the rarest of all NFL beasts, the tie. Or draw, if you prefer. Like the people of Norwich, we'll be finding out more about cousins. We'll also touch on the Bengals too. Were we even sober enough to take it all in? There's a shootout in Atlanta between Ryan and Rodgers. Both score high, but it's the Falcons who soar highest after a contest that will leave both teams feeling good about the journey ahead. And in Buffalo, it's yet another 69 for the Gronk, this time in touchdown form, as he breaks a Pats record. And the Bills fans give Chris Hogan the willies on Halloween weekend. Cam's press rant, Romo Prescott, and the Vikings prospects. All up for discussion on the collapsing pocket. Okay then, hello, welcome to the very first, our debut of the collapsing pocket with three very big gobs around the table with me on this Tuesday evening. My name's Rob Ward. To my left, which is no use to you because you're listening, but to my left is Simon Carroll, pride of Lancashire, one of the many prides of Lancashire, somewhere between 500 and 600, I'd say. Simon, how are you?
No, very well, thank you. Thanks for that introduction. Lovely.
That's okay. It's all right. And over there, across the Pennines, round the table, we have got our very own Jeffrey Boycott here with us in the collapsing pocket. It's Sam Aykroyd, not Ackroyd.
Aykroyd, not Ackroyd. Also, pride of Lancashire, that's the thing, is it? There is something to be proud of in that county.
Oh, fighting talk from the very off. Expect lots of that on the collapsing pocket over the weeks to come.
Well, you'll learn stuff on this podcast.
Just destroyed the podcast at the beginning of it, well done.
There we go, just bury us now. Sam, I've known you for years and not knowing it was Aykroyd. There we go, and we just learnt that before we went on air.
More often it's worth to correct people, so
yeah,
I'll take Ackroyd. It's fine.
He's just lucky if anyone calls him anything, isn't he?
It's polite, isn't it, either way?
Yeah, he's lucky if he's referred to.
Could get a lot worse, and often does.
Fantastic. We've been to Wembley. How was it, Sam?
Yeah, it was a great day out, as always. As always, down there.
Yep.
You have to part with a bit of cash.
You do, don't you?
Bite your tongue a little bit when you're getting around in, but...
I don't mind paying money. I mind waiting a long time when you're at the front of a queue.
You don't mind paying money because at that point you were that drunk.
well, no.
I think you should tell the listeners or listener, hi Shiv, Simon's girlfriend, fiance. I do apologise. I got the wedding invitation
she's
right
here. She's our only listener, is she?
So she is our listener. No, tell us about this Dallas Cowboys chant you started on the tube on the way back. Can you even remember it?
Brilliant. I of course can remember it. It's absolutely fantastic chant. We went through Baker Street. So, got to break out the J Rafferty. And then it went so along like this. You used to throw the ball to Cole Beasley. You used to throw the ball to Cole Beasley. But Des Bryant now. Ideal. Dak Prescott came out Sunday Night Football and threw the ball to Des Bryant.
Tragically missing the sax solo, but otherwise...
I thought you were going to cut in with that.
You did it yourself on the train back. You tried to get the whole carriage going.
I was in my cups.
Fair enough. Well, we had a great day.
Great day. And a draw. So what a special event that was for NFL fans all over the world.
Thinking about this, we've witnessed something that a lot of American fans will never actually have witnessed at an NFL game.
And yet 60,000 other people have witnessed it in the same week, which is rather unusual. I don't know if there's ever been two ties.
First time.
A tie, sorry, not a draw. Right.
Yeah, we knew that.
Yeah,
mistake.
We're getting there. Teething problems. First time since 1997 that the NFL had two ties in consecutive weeks. So history, sort of, in the making. I think we'll get stuck in. We'll go way back to Thursday Night Football. I sat up watching this, hoping that Marcus Mariota, my little plug and play in the fantasy team, would come good. He did. He'd come very good. I tell you who didn't look so good was Blake Bortles. Florida Times-Union in Jacksonville reporting that he is bringing in his own passing coach this week to help with his mechanics. Simon, he really needs it, doesn't he?
He does. He needs more than that. If you look at Blake Bortles' stats, 33, 54, like over 330 yards, 3 touchdowns. You think he's had a great game, absolutely great game. You'd have scored more than 30 points in our fantasy league.
Yeah.
You watched it, and it was the most awful thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, we listen to other podcasts and we hear about how his mechanics have broken down. And you think, is that just a narrative? Everyone's jumping on that kind of excuse. Is he just having a down season after such a good season last year? No such thing. You watch him and his arm starts so low near his knee, and it's like he's a haymaker kind of thing, and he's pulling it every time.
Yep.
The ball's skipping to his target. It's off the ground about 3 yards in front of them.
Yeah.
It was only once the Titans went into the prevent defense and play soft coverage that he started getting into a rhythm. And yeah, he played okay by the end of it. The third and fourth quarter, he was pushing him down the field, but it's alarming. It's alarming for Jacksonville, and you've got to wonder now about Dave Caldwell and about Gus Bradley and the position they found themselves in with that result.
Absolutely, and the players looked just desolate. They looked disinterested. The whole team. I mean, as you say, Gus Bradley has been given several years now, which I think is the right thing to do. In order to build this team, he's got the players in. He's got the players on defense he wanted, which was meant to be, the answer to their problems. And the quarterback who last year everyone was bigging up, saying breakout, next year he's going to do. It was painful. Did you see any of the game, Sam?
No, I did not see any of this game.
Is that because it was Jacksonville, Tennessee?
Yeah, it wasn't a big sell to me.
Excuse me, not even with the colour rush.
No, well, yeah, it's always worth seeing how the colourful teams. It's great to watch, isn't it? With their colourful pants on, there's the black ones. Really lifts the game for us all. But no, Titans Jags was not one I was going to stay up for.
It wasn't one you were going to stay up for. If you had it done, you would have seen, I think, the breakout game for Derrick Henry. We've heard a lot about him in the off-season. Very, very excited. Here's a question for you then. Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray, is that the most talented running back tandem in the NFL at the moment?
I think it's got to be up there. I mean, how many tandems do you see in the NFL?
No, we've got there's Gio and Jeremy Hill at Cincinnati,
which is ineffective currently.
Yeah,
one big game against the Browns does not make a tandem. I would say
I can't think of any other pairing.
The truth is, as good as the tandem is, it's not going to be the best way of running a football. You need someone who's lead back and someone who will spot him when you can. You look at Adam Gase in Miami. He needed a lead back. He didn't have one for the first 6-7 weeks of the season. Miami were awful. Who is it? Is it Jay Ajayi? Is it Arian Foster? All of a sudden, Ajayi clicks. He's become the lead back. They ride him like a workhorse. They win 2 games in a row. He runs for 200 yards in 2 games in a row. It's exactly the same thing across the league. But you look at Derrick Henry, and he is an absolute animal. He won't consistently get you 4 or 5 yards. There will be plays where he will get stuff at the line of scrimmage, but for such a big man, I've never seen feet like that. He will break off big yard chunkies, especially at the end of the game. It's a perfect scenario because DeMarco Murray, he's running really well. He's back to his 2014 form, but you cannot ride him all the way. You will need to spot him, especially when you're playing teams like the Jaguars, who you're out of sight by 5 minutes into the third quarter. You do not need to keep running DeMarco Murray into the ground. Bring in Derrick Henry and just watch the Jacksonville Jaguars defenses just morale break down
absolutely.
In front of you. I mean, talking about rushing yards while we're talking about it, Tennessee, between DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry, they ran for over 200 yards, 214 yards, Jacksonville 48. That's a significant difference when they brought in Chris Ivory just to run with TJ Yeldon, who's like, this is our new backfield now. Maybe that's the reason why Bortles is struggling.
And they don't look like they have a clue what they want to do with that running game. They don't look like they've got a clue what they want to be. Is it Yeldon? Is it Ivory? Who's doing what? It's a complete mess. Just very quickly, as we're on, we talk about Bortles has led this discussion on this game. Flip side, Marcus Mariota looked good.
Did absolutely. You've seen games this season where his accuracy has been off, but not today. Thursday
night.
He was lights out. 18 out of 22, and there was at least one drop I remember. 270 yards, 2 touchdowns. Didn't start the game off well either. Really, had a fumble where I can't remember if it was from the snap or whether it was handing off to the running back.
Yeah, it was
handing
it off. Yeah,
it was a mess. It didn't fluster him. Granted, he's playing the Jaguars, who are not in sync at the moment. But it was nice to see Mariota operating the offense.
And let's be honest, Sam, as well. Marcus Mariota now, Tom Brady's got a rival for the best looking quarterback in the league, wouldn't you say?
Well, to an extent. The problem with you talk about attractive quarterbacks, none of them are really that attractive.
No, don't do it for you. No,
It's a
square head syndrome coming in.
a square head, and
it's got the Hawaiian, kind
like
of
square, but it's a square head along with the giant foreheads they all seem to possess as well, almost twice the size of the rest of the face. But I don't know, it's not true for all of them. But
I think Big Ben will be very upset about this podcast.
We better move on quickly, otherwise
We'll
Big
move-
Ben will come after us. We'll stick on the theme of
Rate the Super Bowls
quarterbacks.
later.
We'll go to the Wembley game. We'll go to the game we were at. Washington and Cincy delight Wembley crowd in entertaining tie, says The Guardian over here in the UK. And it was, wasn't it? In the end, it was a great game. Really enjoyed it. Took a while to get going.
I enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed the drama at the end. I wouldn't say it was a good game though.
Would you not?
Not particularly. No, I didn't. At any point, I didn't think it was brilliant. There was a couple of interceptions that we got excited about, a couple of big bombs, but I mean,
it was just very slow marching each way, wasn't it? Really.
yeah,
Especially
I
from
think it was
the Redskins.
Yeah, I'd say it was like very methodical football from both sides to some extent.
Do you not think that both offences once? I mean, I'd say first quarter was slow. I thought we really started to get going from the second quarter. I thought both offences showed enough to make that game entertaining. Okay, it wasn't a shootout. There wasn't a lot of great defensive plays, but I thought it ticked over nicely and got going. And we had the drama, of course, at the end. Yet another missed field goal in overtime.
I think it needed that.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it would have been a forgettable 60.
Two things I think
Possibly
that
a fair comment.
made it not what I was hoping for.
Okay.
Purely was because we've been blessed to be going to see some really good games at Wembley. Last year it was the Jaguars-Bills game. It was fantastic. The year before that it was the Falcons and Lions. Couldn't ask for a better game. This time it just didn't quite hit those notes. And I think ultimately, when you annoyed it's going to overtime because you want to go to the pub and watch all the other games on the TV, I think that suggests to you that maybe it wasn't quite the game you were hoping for. Two very, very similar teams in certain aspects. Underwhelming quarterbacks. Andy Dalton's played brilliant last 3 weeks, but this week was a little bit off it. Kirk Cousins a little bit better than previous couple of weeks, but still not quite the elite level that you're hoping for when you get a Wembley game.
Well, we'll pick up on that the quarterback battle because I suppose a lot of people would look at these two franchises that are in that sort of middling place right now. They could go either way. So the Bengals and the Redskins, they've both got playoff aspirations. The Bengals have for a few years, the Redskins more so on the back of last year. These two quarterbacks are often criticised, rightfully so in some respects, possibly a bit unfair on other occasions. Which of them would you rather have on your team, Sam?
I don't think it makes a difference with the two quarterbacks.
Okay.
Neither of those teams are built behind a quarterback. They're not their show.
I think the Redskins relies heavily on Kirk Cousins.
I think they shouldn't.
I agree, but they can't get anything from the running game.
I think Sam's correct. I don't think either team really have a quarterback that you can count on.
No.
But that being said, I'd take Andy Dalton every day over Kirk Cousins because he's more consistent. Mm-hmm. Kirk Cousins plays a good team, he struggles. He plays a bad team, he looks good.
Yeah, he's never beaten a team with a winning record. Was that right? Until
it was right.
earlier this season.
Yeah. He booked that trend. Andy Dalton has been in shootouts with big teams and come away good. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. You don't see an AJ Green on Washington's offense, Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon are good wide receivers, but they're not elite where AJ Green's getting him out of trouble every now and again. Tyler Eifert in particular across the middle.
That was huge, his return. You felt that, didn't you?
Without doubt. Cincinnati Bengals are a much different team on offense with him in the game.
And on AJ Green, very quickly, I tell you what, maybe that's why I love this game a bit more than you guys. I love watching that battle between him and Josh Norman. Mainly because I think it's safe to say that Green got the better of him.
Without doubt.
And Norman is utterly intolerable. Flagged for 5 penalties. Should have had 2 interceptions. And then it was lovely to see him get absolutely roasted, wasn't it, with that bomb in the second half.
He was a yard away every time.
Not that we're biased on this podcast against Josh Norman.
He came out after the game and started blaming the umpires and
for
his decisions, like, who's number 88? Who's number 88? And the other team and like the other pundits were thinking, wait, which team are you talking about? No, I'm talking about the referee. It's like, he's had an awful game. It's not true.
And
Josh, you had an awful game, and now you're in trouble.
And now you're getting burned, baby, burned by AJ. And Marvin Lewis, little mind game at the end there, calling the timeout just before the kick. We've seen that at the first game of the season, Carolina, Denver.
Nice in the kick.
Nice in the kick.
Works both ways.
Ah, clever.
But worked.
It worked, it certainly did. Let's move on then. We're going to go to Indianapolis and Kansas City. Who's got this one?
Say it like that.
I had this one, and to be honest, even though it was pretty much a one-sided game, it was really enjoyable. I think the first thing you've got to say about this game is the Colts are an absolute mess. If it wasn't for Andrew Luck, they'd be the worst team in the league, and I don't mind saying that. You can write that down if you want. I don't know a team in this league that has a lower talent level on the roster outside of Andrew Luck than the Colts. I think you look from top to bottom on that roster, there might be four players that you would want on your roster. T.Y. Hilton, Vontae Davis, Robert Mathis, and maybe Dante Moncrief, Adam Vinatieri, of course. The value of a kicker.
Yeah.
But my point remains, like, it's an absolute atrocious mess. They get absolutely slapped in their own back garden by a team who the starting quarterback left the game twice. You know,
Yeah.
it was embarrassing.
They were slapped up by Nick Foles.
It finished 30-14. The 2 touchdowns, one of them was an absolutely beautiful move about Andrew Luck in the pocket just to escape pressure. I can't remember which Chiefs defender was on. I think it was Poe who almost had him. Threw a dart in the end zone on the move. Typical Andrew Luck. I mean, and they had one wiped off, but they were never in this game. Some talking points, I'd say Travis Kelce. You can write this down as well. He has got everything in his locker to be as good as Rob Gronkowski.
Travis Kelce.
Everything in his locker. If he can just produce that on a weekly basis, he was unbelievable. You could not play him. The first drive, he converted the first 3 first downs. Third downs for the first down, should I say. He dominated. He absolutely schooled Vontae Davis on a touchdown play. He's unbelievable. I was telling my girlfriend about this, and she said, "Oh yeah, and he's got a TV show where he tries to date everybody as well."
He does. He's always, again, not a bad look. As we're on the subject,
Talk about a good-looking mugger.
Yeah, he does. Travis Kelce, he does have his own
I want
TV
to talk
show.
about Travis Kelce.
No, he's been...
He keeps letting me down in fantasy. That's all I'll say about him. I'm sure everyone says he's a great tight end. Sure he is. Not for the fantasy.
You can hear him sucking lemons as we speak.
At least.
Yeah.
I'd say Travis Kelce's a talking point.
Sure, I'm sure he's wonderful.
The major one's obviously going to be Alex Smith getting knocked out of the game twice. Both times looking like a concussion. Went through the concussion protocol, came back in, went through it again, did not come back in. But who did come in? Nick Foles, and he looked good.
16 for 22, 223 yards and 2 touchdowns from Nick Foles.
He just seamlessly came in. He took a lot of heat. Nick Foles, I mean, when he was drafted by Andy Reid in Philadelphia, he looked good in Philadelphia, got the big contract. Andy Reid got kicked out the door, went to Kansas City. Nick Foles falls off a cliff, gets swapped essentially for Sam Bradford, so goes to St. Louis, now LA. Asked for a trade out there because he's not. They don't like him, they don't trust him, and for good reason. He struggled. Could have gone to a team challenging for a starting job, and could have gone to Dallas for big money to back up Tony Romo at the time. Didn't. Went to Kansas City to play again for Andy Reid, which was a smart move. Just seamlessly transitions as he comes into that thing.
Is he always just a backup though?
Well,
Is he ever going to get?
Well, yeah, he is, and I think he knows that now. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs, they had a great backup last year, Chase Daniel, let him walk out the door. They've got another one now. Like he's not a starting material, but he's ideal in Andy Reid's offense.
and he may well open up Jeremy Maclin downfield, because it would be fair to say with Nick Foles on the centre, there is much more threat downfield in the Kansas City Chiefs offence. Or will Andy Reid try and contain that if Smith is to miss time?
He's an arm. He's an arm, and obviously he can do the deep ball. That's one of his things that he can do. And I don't think necessarily Alex Smith can't. I think this team just has so many weapons now that you cannot look. He will throw it absolutely anywhere. Like this, all the guys at the backfield. You've got Tyreek Hill, who absolutely dominating game. Travis Kelce, Jeremy Maclin. There's no favourites in this team. This Kansas City Chiefs franchise is an embodiment of a team. You don't see it very often anywhere else. There's no drama. There's no divas on the roster. There's nobody coming, trying to take over the whole thing, make it about them like Odell Beckham or Des Bryant. There's none of that at all. On defense, they're getting better and better. It's just a team that's coming together nicely. Andy Reid's one of the best coaches and roster builders in the NFL.
One player they won't have going forward, they've not had all season. News broke just before. Simon's got his head in his hands. The man that Simon Carroll was hoping would lead his team to the fantasy playoffs, Jamal Charles, injury reserve.
It's over. It's over. He didn't look good when he came back in a couple of weeks ago. He got one carry. They said his knees were wrong. He didn't get anything last week. It was on the cards. It's just a hope, isn't it? When you've got someone like Jamal Charles, you do not want to drop him for fear of him turning it on.
Absolutely. Andrew Luck in the Indy Star. Yeah, the Indy Star. We're sick of it. And you can understand they've got a unique talent at quarterback. They've got the kind of talent that comes along once in a generation for a franchise like this. They knew they had problems with the offensive line last year. They went out, they drafted. What's going on? Why is that offensive line not pulling it together?
Honestly, because Ryan Grigson's a poor GM. An absolute poor GM. 2 years ago, last year, they did go out of their way to try and get offensive linemen, but they're not ready. Kelly, the centre, is a good piece. They've done well to get him from Alabama. But the year before was when they should have really drafted to protect Andrew Luck, and they didn't do it. They went and got Philip Dorsett in the first round, who was a luxury pick, an absolute luxury pick for a team that does not have that luxury to pick him. Just doesn't have him. It's a mess of a team, and for Andrew Luck to come out and say he's sick of it is quite remarkable. He's the kind of guy who will take it all on him, will never ever criticise his team. But after that, was it 40 or 50 yard touchdown strike to Dante Moncrief, his second one, he got called back for a holding penalty. It's going to annoy you. It's going to annoy you as a quarterback who's doing everything he can to keep. He wasn't even that good in this game. Wasn't Andrew Luck, and that's the reason why they didn't compete. If he's on his game, he will keep the Colts in games just by himself. He couldn't do it today.
So we did get it done yesterday. The Carolina Panthers, specifically the Carolina Panthers defense, off the bye week. 30-20 victory at home to the Arizona Cardinals in a rematch last year's NFC Championship game.
Yeah, well, everyone's been billing this as Carolina getting the season back on track, even though the season has already gone for them. But
says the Saints fan.
Well, no, we're still there, just about.
No, I'm saying that explains the bitterness towards the Panthers. Okay.
No, I don't mind. Don't mind the Panthers in and of themselves. But yeah, the D finally stepped up big time, getting 8 sacks on Carson Palmer, which you'd be upset about if you were getting put on the arse 8 times.
8 times in one game.
3 of them by some fella called Star Lotulelli. Simon can do that for me.
Oh, I'm joking here.
So presumably he's a guy to look out for.
I'm sure he is, yeah.
Well, Panthers just ran away with this in the first half. It took till 20 seconds to go in the half for Arizona to put anything on the board. But basically it was the D doing the job for them.
D come good. Why hasn't the D been good so far this season?
They've got no back end. They've lost Josh Norman. They've had to cut Ben Wickery. They're really struggling. Dave Gettleman has done a great job of building the roster, particularly on that side of the ball. Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, you can all like Kevin Short and Starlo Talele in defensive tackle. Josh Norman came out of nowhere last year. You know, they lost Captain Munlin. They were thinking, well, you know, who steps up? They have done a really good job, but sometimes the world runs dry, and Norman goes. He looked like a solid moral standpoint. Like, no, we can't pay you what you want. We'll let you go. You know, Redskins paid him, and to be fair, he's had quite a good season in Washington for a first season. I mean, he struggled at Wembley, but looking at Carolina now, they really have struggled on the back end. They come and play Arizona, whose deep passing game's really struggling, struggling, and because of that, they've got no deep threat. The secondary doesn't have to worry about it, and all of a sudden they're having a lights out game again based on the front seven.
And with Arizona, on offense, if Carson Palmer wasn't struggling enough, as you say, sacked 8 times, lost his left tackle for the season.
So that offensive line is another mess.
There you go.
DJ Humphries was drafted 2015, didn't even get to play in the first season. He was drafted in the first round. They thought he would plug him in at the right tackle. I assume it's Jared Valdir who's gone on the left side. Then used to be an Oakland Raider. He's probably one of the only solid pieces they've got on that line. It's just not getting the job done. But at the same time, Carson Palmer's regressing. Can't throw the football as well as he used to.
Honey Badger out for a couple of weeks. The defense has been a strength of theirs this season. Didn't quite get it done yesterday. These two teams competing in the NFC Championship game last season. Are either of them going to make the playoffs this year?
Well, the Panthers aren't. You can't come back from 1-5.
Well, I beg to differ. They won 8 straight 2 years ago to get into the playoffs.
Streaky team, Panthers.
Yeah.
But Atlanta are looking good, aren't they? Down south, we'll come to them in a moment.
It's going to be a tough division, but one thing you haven't mentioned, Cam Newton is back on form. Absolute fantastic last week.
And he was getting hit.
Yeah, he was having a whinge about it, or possibly just making a fair comment about it, depending on who you listen to.
What was he wearing?
No, you look dapper.
Did he look good while he was whinging?
Apparently, he had some sort of feather in his cap.
Yeah, Trilby.
He had a trilby that I'll camp.
Fair play to him. But and he was right. He was the challenge that upset him the most was a poor challenge on the knee.
Yeah, who hit him?
Calais Campbell.
He's done his research. Calais Campbell, but not far off. Calais Campbell.
This is going to be a running thing in the podcast. Anything hard to say, Sam's going to have to say it.
Just Calais. I've got it written down right here.
That was hard to say. Jameis Winston's performance, particularly in overtime, was hard to watch. Me and Sam were watching a bit of this in the pub after the game, weren't we? Just couldn't hit open men in a 30-24 defeat to the Oakland Raiders, despite the Oakland Raiders giving up a record 23 penalties for 200 yards.
It was painful to watch, Rob. It was absolutely painful to watch. The Raiders should have won this game by 30 points comfortably. They should have been 50-20, as far as I could see. They stuck around purely because they were shooting themselves in the foot. Jack Del Rio deserves a lot of credit for going for it on fourth down, throwing for 2 points. Like, they won the game this week by throwing for a 4th and 4 at halfway line with 3 minutes left on the clock in overtime. If you hadn't completed that, you're giving Tampa Bay the last chance to win the game. They only have to move 20 yards and kick a field goal. He goes for it. Seth Roberts scores the touchdown after breaking 2 tackles. It's a brilliant thing, and he deserves all the plaudits in the world for that.
Although those 2 tackles were embarrassing.
They would have hit each other, but what he does not deserve credit for is the fact that he can not instill any discipline in his team. 23 penalties, 200 yards in a game. It's not only a franchise record, it's an NFL record.
Isn't that what the Raiders are all about?
Well, I suppose it has to mystique a little bit, yeah.
It's got a bit of that about him. I thought the same thing. He seems a perfect fit for that franchise.
West Coast man.
Swashbuckling, you say the opening game of the season in the 8th wonder of the world, the New Orleans Superdome. Going for the 2-point conversion in this game, going for it, as you say.
Teaching the Saints a lesson.
Well, it's not like they really learn anything there, did they? But I'll never discourage a side going 2-point conversions, going on fourth down.
Ballsy, like it.
Like to watch.
Like it a lot.
Like it when it goes right. Like it when it goes wrong.
Jameis Winston. I like Jameis. I really like. I think he's got the tools. What is it that's going on in this offense? First game of the season, they came out. They were Atlanta, gunslinging, ripped open Atlanta, fantastic. Beyond that, we then start seeing the picks come in. Did he throw 5 interceptions in week 2 in Arizona?
It was a bad week.
Bad week. Then we saw him on Monday Night Football a few weeks after that, and we go, right, okay, now that it looked as though they had him in a straitjacket out there. He was being contained. It was the running game, the Jacquizz Rodgers, similar against San Francisco, but I mean, you can do anything you want against San Francisco, can't you? Where are we at with this Bucs offense and with Jameis Winston?
I think everyone needs to remember it's just his second year, and he's in a team that before he got there was not very good, and now he's still there. He's still not very good. This game wasn't about him; it was about Derek Carr, without any question.
Yeah, of course.
But Jameis Winston, he was serviceable, And I think the biggest thing to think about is outside of Mike Evans, who's he throwing to? He's lost his starting tight end, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, because he's just fallen off the cliff, and they've got rid of him. Now Cameron Brake's the starter, but
are you saying that Adam Humphries is not going to give you consistent
Adam Humphries
production?
and Russell Shepard? I mean, who are these people he's targeting on a consistent basis? Vincent Jackson's on IR. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like he will throw it up there. He will throw it up there big time. He won't worry about it. Just does not care about inception. He's got that Brett Favre mentality. Well, let's just go again. And that's what happens when you're behind by 3 touchdowns and you end up throwing 5 interceptions because he's thinking, I don't care how many interceptions I've got. We've got to get back in the game. Let's go. His team's not up to it. It's nice to see. To be fair, to see the Buccaneers commit to the running game to some extent.
It is.
Doug Martin's doing a fantastic job. He's not there at the moment, so they pick up Jacquizz Rodgers off the street. He's still runs.
Jacquizzed all over them, you might say.
I've got to be honest. Like Jacquizz Rodgers came out of Oregon at college, and he's undersized. Just did not look like an NFL fit whatsoever. He's never ever been in a good situation where he can run the ball. Atlanta, no offensive line. Chicago, no offensive line. Same here, but he still managed to get 69 yards and a touchdown and 19 carries. And maybe that in the long term will help Jameis Winston. And it was just a game where he came up against a team who outgunned him.
I do think better times ahead for Jameis Winston. I really do. I know that there's been a lot of criticism on this, and I opened it framing it with criticism of him. But also, well, you've got to go with the topic of the day, haven't you? You know what I mean? But no, I do think better times ahead. I think they've got themselves a franchise quarterback in the books, which is the main thing, isn't it? Yeah, right, let's get out of the way then. Let's do it for us, Sam. Let's go to the eighth wonder. Is that what we call it, Sam?
The eighth wonder, the Ark.
The Ark.
Yeah, as was, yeah.
The New Orleans Superdome were the Seattle Shy Talks. That's Shy Talks, because they're all shy talkers. Richard Sherman in particular. I am a Niners fan, by the way. They rocked up and they were beaten 25-20.
Indeed, New Orleans getting it done, somewhat unusually. I have to say, I was watching this on Red Zone, and I had been drinking for most of that day, so it's slightly patchy.
There's a theme developing here, isn't
there?
there?
Yeah, and again, possibly not the clearest eyes I was watching it through in terms of bias, but New Orleans really, I think they popped up a little bit, stopping Seattle when really you'd expect Seattle to get it done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really were. And right up until the last play, just missing that touchdown throw to Curse.
Yeah, but again, I don't know if Seattle offense has been on it at all this season so far. I know they're slow starters traditionally.
We know who hasn't been on it is Russell Wilson.
Very fair point. I mean, I was well and truly done by the end of the game. I think we left halfway through it, me and my fiancée, but I was not paying any attention to that game at all. I was delighted the Saints winning for a split second until I realised Sam was a Saints fan. I was going to hear nothing else for the next 2 days. Russell Wilson's got problems. Obviously, got the leg injury that's really restricting him. Can't run the football, taking away half of his game.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
He can still throw the ball, but if the defence don't worry about him pulling out the pocket, then that deep ball is also compromised.
No, it's count the injuries now with Wilson, isn't it? Give a guy credit. He's tough, remarkable. He's going out there every week. Is that actually hindering this team? Is he going out there playing with injuries? Should he not be resting up for a couple of weeks to heal those injuries and then get back out there?
I don't know who. I don't even know who the backup is. I couldn't tell you. I don't know who it is. I don't think there's anybody who could step in and do what Russell Wilson does. And he's still serviceable. He's not like it's not like he's causing his team problems. He's just not doing what Russell Wilson normally does. If you know what I mean.
Trevon Boykin. You're saying you're not convinced that
Boykin,
Trevon Boykin can get it done?
No. Of course he can't. Russell Wilson gets it done in general when he's fully fit because they've got a poor offensive line. They're relying on Tom Cable to mash 5 random people together on that offensive line. It's worked for years, but only his magic can work so far. Obviously, it didn't work earlier this season. Russell Wilson got injured. Now, if you put anybody else behind there, they're going to have similar problems, and they don't have what Russell Wilson has to get out of it.
As someone who did get out of it, not by his own choice, would be Mark Ingram.
Well,
first.
I did want to mention this slightly when you were talking about your running back tandems. You got Ingram and then
steady.
Hightower.
Steady.
How was Ingram?
Well, tandems sometimes one's going to take a bit of a back seat, one's going to come to the front, and Hightower steps up with a big, 102 yards.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, just out of curiosity, how much did Ingram have to say about taking a back seat in this game?
I didn't really follow the post game.
Well,
chat.
He was benched. Ineffective.
He just realised this.
Rubbish.
It's breaking news, folks, on the Collapsing Pocket podcast.
Well, we all have, we have an off day.
We all have an off day, or a lot of beer, as the case may be.
Mark Ingram's. Yeah.
But what?
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Willie, what they don't.
There's no pedigree there.
What is it? There's something not right there. Earlier this season, we saw them go to the San Diego Chargers, didn't we? And who gets the goal line carries? John Kuhn, okay? Yesterday, Hightower got more carries than Ingram's had most of the season.
I don't understand it. Tim Hightower is slight compared to Mark Ingram. You get in that red zone, there's only one person who should be running that ball and running it effectively. He's had, what is it? I don't think he's only had one plus 1,000 yard running season in his career. He's supposed to be the next best thing, but it's a common theme with running backs coming out of Alabama.
Right.
Trent Richardson struggles. Eddie Lacy struggles. Mark Ingram struggles. What?
The big guys aren't. They don't look the most mobile.
No.
The three you just listed, the big guys. That's where they build them in Alabama.
Well, look at Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
So maybe the Titans got it right. Back up.
Back up. Let's go. Well, I was hoping to segue nicely there and geographically move north from New Orleans, but we're actually just kind of moving along, aren't we, to Houston?
Westish.
Sort of west-ish.
Oh, God,
yeah.
this game.
Yeah. Hey, well, you know what? I gave a segue a go, and God loves a trier. Houston Texans welcomed the Detroit Lions and beat them 2013 in a game that I was meant to be researching and made up an excuse and passed it on to Si to do the notes for.
I fell asleep. It was the worst game I've watched all season. And that's not just because either team were particularly poor, particularly good. They were just normal. It was a normal game.
Are we going to leave it there? Or?
Well, if you like, yeah. We don't have to talk much about it. But Brock Osweiler had a better game, but he's still not good enough to be a franchise quarterback. Matthew Stafford is. If it wasn't for not being able to convert on a couple of third downs at the beginning of the game, it would not have been 14-0 to the Texans. It would not have been out of sight, and they would have been in it. He just had one of his games where he's been saving the Lions for the last few weeks. The Detroit Lions need to get healthy on defense. That's where it starts for them. Haloti Ngata and Ziggy Ansah. Ziggy Ansah is back and played for the last 5 games, would you believe? But he's only had 1 tackle in this game. He had 14.5 sacks last season. That's the difference maker for them.
They need Darius Slay back in as well.
Without doubt, the back end. Darius Slay is a playmaker, but Golden takes back. The offense is purring. Theo Riddick, I've got to hold my hands up here. I didn't think he was up to much. Sam, you were big on Theo Riddick. You tend to be big on Detroit Lions running backs in general. But Joey is a fan favourite. But he's a legitimate 3-down back. You look at him; he can run in the I formation, the shotgun. He can be split out.
Yeah, I was really glad I benched him this week. It was a good.
He was good on pitches. He's got it all. The guy can run. And what did he finish on? What was his stat line? 56 yards on 11 carries, which is not a lot of yards, but on 11 carries, it's a great average.
25
and another 77 yards through the air and a touchdown.
25 points on Sam's bench
25
there.
points. That is
With Theo Riddick. Can I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, 4 for 44. He played last year with terrible quarterbacks. He's playing this year with an even worse quarterback, potentially. At least Brian Hoyer would throw it out to him. At least Brian Hoyer would look for him. Brock Osweiler, it's dip and dunk, isn't it? And that's it. He cannot throw that ball out wide and let Hopkins go up and contest it and grab at it. He just won't do it.
The ultimate checkdown artist. He's so scared of making a mistake that he will refuse to take any chances. And he's stifling the Houston Texans offense. It's no wonder Bill O'Brien got in his face last week. He's just not the guy that Bill O'Brien wanted. You look at Tom Brady. He's the man that Bill O'Brien wants. He's the guy who will push that ball down the field. Brock Osweiler's not that guy. He's just not that guy.
And let's be honest, Sam, you wouldn't want Bill O'Brien up in your face too often, would you? He looks quite an angry man, doesn't he, Bill O'Brien? We like Bill O'Brien, but you wouldn't want him.
He looks a bit podgy, but he looks like he could handle himself.
He does.
He's chewed out Tom Brady on the sideline before, and that takes some balls.
That does take some balls. That does. Speaking of balls and Tom Brady, there we go. I can get a segue that works. That was a perfect segue, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The New England Patriots roll into Buffalo and smash the Bills 41-25, gaining revenge on the 16-0 shutdown the Bills and Rex Ryan put on Bill Belichick earlier this year. We'll get on to the interesting extra addition to the gridiron a little later on, but we're going to lead off on this one. How good are the Pats looking right now, Sam?
Well, this was business as usual again, wasn't it? With just slapping Buffalo around as per. But yeah, they're looking very good. They were looking strong before when Brady's suspension at the start of the season. That one result notwithstanding.
Yeah.
And then you put him back in, you're linking up with the Gronk. You've got Blount or whatever he's calling himself.
LeGarrette Blount.
He's winning. He wasn't great, but he's still got a touchdown.
And he's been doing that all year. One game without a touchdown. Yeah.
It's all about Brady this game, though, surely.
All about Brady. Nice little not a record. He's tying. He's got his 26-3 against the Buffalo.
Wow.
Which is 26 wins against one team. It's a Brett Favre tied record there. So next season he'll have that one to tick off, I'm sure.
And the Gronk.
But he's Gronk.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to stick on Brady, but yeah, if we're doing records, the Gronk 69th career touchdown franchise record.
And he particularly enjoyed it being the 69th, didn't he?
Well, there's jokes to be made.
He's a
there,
jock.
sure.
There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, there is a little. There is an interview that you've seen it of him.
I think professionally enjoyed that it was in his hometown.
Yes, yes, well observed. Yeah, he did. Bless him.
Yeah, I was going to say Brady throwing. He was going for 9.5 yards per throw,
That's unreal.
which
Compared to
probably going to win you a game.
compared to
isn't it?
Brock Osweiler's 3.2 yards per attempt
3.2
last week. This week he doubled
painful.
it. This week he doubled it.
Oh,
But last
6.4. He's
last
getting
week,
there.
3.2 yards
Jeez.
per attempt through the air.
But all of this, Patriot offense, Brady's record, Gronk's record, great performance, 5 receptions, 7 targets, etc., was somewhat overshadowed.
It was somewhat overshadowed, wasn't it, by a play. Well, speaking of getting yardage on a throw, somebody from the stands.
I think it was quite full.
Chris Hogan's got a lot to answer for. That's where I see it. That's where Buffalo Bill fans saw it. You leave Buffalo, you go to New England, you start winning a lot of games, you're smashing Buffalo. Yeah, I think. Reach into your bag of tricks and throw something at him out the stand. I think it's a reasonable response.
If you something like that, you expect to get a dildo on the pitch, do you? Is that fair?
Chris Hogan.
I was wondering who was going to say that.
Yeah,
Say the actual word.
yeah. I was desperate to get in there and say dildo. There we go. I've said it.
We're finding our level here, guys.
I think my favourite bit of that was, I don't know if you saw the footage of it, was when the referee goes on the pitch and he can't bear to pick it up, so he just kicks it off to the side.
Someone's kind of, we don't know where it's been. So
It'd be better if
Had it been cleaned?
I think it'd be better if Gronk picked up and did first down.
I think,
it'd be absolutely fantastic.
Well, Gronk was made up when he saw it.
that'd have been a
anyway.
fine. We all know that.
That was fantastic. That
Well,
really,
it's just one of another. It's just in the pantheon of stuff being chucked on the pitch at players. And I see the NFL joining in, where perhaps soccer has led the way with pigs' heads.
yeah.
Such forth.
Mopeds, pigs' heads, you name it.
Mars bars.
And that's just the stretch of the international stretch of soccer now. I think
That
the
is.
NFL picking up on it.
They're picking up on it.
Fair play to him.
The learning to throw objects onto the field at
We all
players
like
they
to see
don't
it.
like. Absolutely.
Some extent.
Players we don't like. Oh God, there's quite a few of them in Cleveland, isn't it, at the moment?
I'm nothing against them personally.
No. And we need to be fair on this one, because you can see that Hugh Jackson is doing his very best. He's trying to get things done. He's trying to mix things up a little bit with that team. He's got nothing to work with, has he?
I think he's doing a fantastic job. I don't. There's not one player on that roster that I don't like. I think he's kept around the people who offer some value either now or in the future. It's such a young team. It's unbelievable. They're not far away from being competitive. On Sunday, they lost 31-28. I know they got a touchdown at the end of the game, but they were 27 up.
They
at
were.
the time.
They were. But where did that lead go? They've won it before this season.
Well, it's a young team. I mean, I'm not defending the Cleveland Browns.
No,
at the end of the day, every Cleveland Brown fan knows that this season was going to be a long season.
Of course.
You clean house as ferociously as Hugh Jackson and Sacha Brown did in the summer. It's going to take forever. I mean, it tells you something that probably the best player on your roster is someone who's playing a position that he didn't play 2 years ago. Is remarkable. It's remarkable, but like they're not that far away. You've just got to wait. You've just got to wait. Like,
Well, 3 points. That's all right, isn't it?
3 points away against a really bad
head coach
Jets
worth his soul
team.
will ever tell you that a 3-point loss is okay. They just won't. But this team is different when Josh McCown's on the centre.
Yes.
He is. I mean, there was arguments in the media that should Cody Kessler come back when he's back because of the future and the potential he offers. I don't think so. Josh McCown comes into the game. He throws the ball around left, right, and centre. Gary Barnes is a different player with Josh McCown in the centre. He's a Pro Bowler with Josh McCown in centre. When he's not there, he's nobody. They can move the ball down the field. They have weapons. They've got a running game that, granted, did not run at all against New York Jets. But then again, you're going up against Mohamed Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson. You're going to struggle.
Yeah, you can't run on the Jets.
But they've got a running back duo that's decent. They've got Terrell Pryor on the outside taking the top of the defense. This guy is very cliche to call him an athlete, but he is an athlete. Like you watch him, he's very raw. He will beat anybody. He had the makings of Revis, and Revis is obviously having a tough year because he's struggling with fitness and he's struggling with Father Time. But Terrell Pryor, he burned him on like 3 or 4 occasions, and Pryor left yards. He left receptions on the field, particularly at the end when they're trying to chase the game. He gave up on a throw when he didn't think it was coming his way, and it turned out it did. And Marcus Gilchrist intercepted him, and that pretty much was the game from that point on. But how good is he going to be in 2 years' time, 1 year time? He just they don't even miss Josh Gordon, and this is a team that's 0-8. They don't miss one of the best ever players.
No, it's fair. It's fair. The Browns have been competitive in I think every game. At some stage.
Just not won any of them.
Just not won any of them. Josh McCown, we like, but is that the future of the franchise? Is that the next?
He's
they
not.
keep him on the
No,
next
I
couple
would
of
never.
years?
I wouldn't suggest that Josh McCown's a future franchise, but I would suggest that he would be a starting quarterback in at least 10 teams in the NFL. And you don't turn your nose up at that. You don't bring in RG3 to get injured. You don't bring a third-round draft pick who nobody else would have picked at all and put him in. You play Josh McCown. Give him the ball. Let him.
Suggesting bringing RG3 in.
Well, they did.
Well, they did, and guess what that
They did in the first game. Bang, injured. Job done. To be fair, he looked quite good in pre-season, but regardless, this game, it was a great game to watch. Like you watch it, you could feel the excitement from the Cleveland Browns fans as it started to look like they were competitive. But they're just too raw and inexperienced to hold on. Like as soon as the Jets came out, drove down and pulled a touchdown back in the first drive, you thought we're in trouble here. Yeah. The game turned on Quincy Enunwa, another unheralded prospect. If you saw the touchdown, caught the ball, spun on the spot, broke 3 tackles, and bundled into the end zone.
Beautiful.
The guy just wanted it more.
So what we're saying is Super Bowl 54. Get your money on the Browns now.
I'd never say that.
Coward.
Let's talk about size team. Oh, hang on. No, we didn't talk much about the Jets. Is there much to say about the Jets? An old,
Not usually, is it?
Yeah,
an old
aging roster
team,
that's struggling to keep up with the rest of them.
Team, and
They're also runs again this year.
Brandon Marshall dropping the ball left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
Matt Forte requiring 25 carries to get up to 82 yards. Yes, he got the touchdowns. But
I'll tell you right now that Ryan Fitzpatrick, he might have had his problems early in the season. He was serviceable this year. This game. The biggest problem for me is force feeding Matt Forte. He has still got lots in the tank, but how are they going to kill him before week 12? Why? Bilal Powell had 6 carries for 75 yards, and he ran it. Why would you only run him 6 times? Why would you not run him on every third down?
Very, very odd.
And I understand Matt Forte's a pass catching running back, and you want him out there. But Bilal Powell is a pass catching running back. Get him out there.
And that's the thing, isn't it? They're both meant to be perfect fits for the Chan Gailey offense.
Yeah,
meant to be Chan Gailey.
Chan Gailey.
Chan Gailey.
Fitzpatrick's godfather, as far as he's concerned. He's made him a lot of money.
What that means, that's fine.
The most interesting aspect of this game was you could call it the smart ass bowl.
Oh, go on.
We had a guy from Harvard, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and a guy from Princeton on the field at the same time, Seth Duval, the tight end.
That's a great start. Speaking of smart asses, Sam, what do you make of that?
It's one of the most boring stats I've ever heard.
Shall we move on then,
Sorry,
Sam?
dildo man, I do apologise.
What's boring about a dildo being thrown on a pitch?
We've had the sex toy chat. Sam's checking out now. Let's go. Size team, the San Diego Chargers. They went.
No, they didn't win.
Sam's just checking the score there.
Hate you.
The Denver Post Broncos cheerleader dances in dinosaur costume during Chargers game.
I couldn't stomach finding a better headline for you.
That's the headline that Si sent me to introduce this segment. Quick comment on that, Sam?
Cheerleaders.
That's fine, thank you.
My comment on that is that Ken Wisenhunt is a dinosaur when it comes to play calling when you're on the 2-yard line. Ironically, it's not though. The funny thing is, like, you have run the ball down the field. Obviously, Philip Rivers on 3rd down, throwing the pass. You're chasing the game. You're 8 points behind. You ride Melvin Gordon all game for 111 yards. He gets another 40 yards in the air. On the 2-yard line, they have 4 goals of punching it into the end zone, and they don't give it in once from the 2-yard line. What does that suggest to you?
It suggests that there's an offense that's still working out what it wants to be.
I don't understand the vanilla play calling from Ken Wisenhunt. He obviously did not trust Melvin Gordon to get in the end zone 2 yards, but the guy has been playing lights out for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It doesn't make no sense.
And it was I thought this was quite a strange game. I mean, was watching it, and the Chargers seemed fairly comfortable, seemed fairly in control. The defense, the Chargers defense, Joey Bosa absolutely stepped up. And they were taking it to the Broncos, I thought. And it felt like the game changed on interception. It wasn't Rivers' fault. It was a
tip ball.
Ball, wasn't it? It was one of them.
Bradley Roby took it back to the house for 40 or 50-yard return for the game. And that essentially put the game outside.
Yeah.
There's 2 ways of looking at this. The Chargers stuck around against a team who, Super Bowl champions last year.
Yeah.
And have everything but maybe an elite quarterback to be practically put in the AFC Championship game mix straight away. The other way to look at it is that the Chargers may have been lucky to be even in this game to a certain extent. They had 2 turnovers, both times in the red zone. The second one was where Devontae Booker was stretching out to get the touchdown, and Jatavis Brown punched the ball out, which was a phenomenal play. It was Corey Toomer, sorry, he punched the ball out. 3 or 4 attempts where Chargers could have had interceptions, one of which should have been returned for a pick six by Casey Hayward. He had another one late in the game, but Corey Toomer and Kyle Emmanuel both should have had interceptions returned for the game. The Chargers are a very exciting team.
That's what I keep getting told all season, not just by you, Si. Other.
Who else do you talk about the Chargers too?
A lot of other people said they're very exciting team, very unlucky to be on a losing record as they are now. Before today, it was 7 points.
It's been ridiculous. It's been ridiculous. Yeah.
Perhaps it's just a bit of a mental switch. They're not quite just not finishing games.
I don't know how
should be finishing them.
I don't know how long the GM, the front office, don't know how long the coaching staff have got left in charge of the Chargers. But if they move on from these people, the people who come in have got a very good roster to deal with. If you've got people coming back from like Danny Woodhead, Keenan Allen, and Jason Verrett, who is an elite cornerback in his 3rd season. He's already an elite cornerback in this league.
Yep.
That defense. Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram on the outside. Bosa didn't make much noise this game in terms of stats, but he was consistently pushing the pocket towards Trevor Siemian. Then the 2 linebackers are the ones I really want to talk about. Denzel Perryman, Jatavis Brown. Manti Te'o went out in week 4, I think it was. Didn't miss him. To be honest, I don't even know if Te'o will be re-signed after this season. Those 2 guys. Jatavis Brown is a 5th round draft pick out of Akron. When he drafted him, I thought he might move him to safety. He's undersized, with a nose for the football, a lot like Deion Buchanan and similar old players that you see nowadays. But no, stuck him at linebacker, tackles left, right, and centre.
I think the San Diego Chargers defense is the most improved unit, offense or defense, of any team from last year to this.
It's a very fair point.
And when you then throw on top of that Phillip Rivers, this is a team. That AFC West has got 4 teams there. That would all be worthy playoff teams at the moment. There's a good chance that the Chargers are going to miss out on the playoffs because they're in that division. Because you've got the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Broncos. It's a very tough but great division.
I think they're going to miss out on that for a couple of reasons. One, like you said, they're in a tough division. You've got the Broncos 6-2, the Raiders 6-2, the Chiefs 5-2, and then they've got them at 3-5, and they're already 3 games behind, probably getting to the playoffs.
It's unlucky.
But more importantly is the games that they've lost early doors in the season when they didn't have Joey Bosa on the field. He could have been a difference maker because they refused to pay him the money. I'm not jumping on any side of that. The team doesn't pay people deferred money. I'm not getting involved in it. It is what it is right now. But if they had Bosa from week 1, it could be a completely different scenario right now.
Next year, then, mate. Next year.
Let's move on to Sunday Night Football. I'll grab this one. We had a classic NFC East battle. It was finally an NFC East game worthy of being on prime time. Haven't had that for a few years, have we? Cowboys on the path to the Super Bowl, asks the Dallas Morning News. Typical, keeping it all in perspective there from Dallas. Could Wentz and Prescott be the next Manning Brady? That's what Eagles receiver Jordan Matthews was talking about before the game. Dak Prescott, there's not much more left to say. There's not many more, plaudits you can throw on this guy. The figure of Tony Romo looming on the sidelines, the world's watching on Sunday night. I would argue that Dak Prescott put up his best performance of the season. In terms of the situation, he's facing the most intimidating defence he's faced all year. Didn't have it all his own way. Guts, determination to bring that side back from a 10-point deficit in the 4th quarter. Winning overtime, very, very impressive. And I'll tell you the one thing that really stood out in this game for me was the connection between him and Des Bryant, because one of the big arguments for Romo being reinstalled into this team is that connection he's got with the key wide receiver.
It's the only argument.
It's the only argument really at the moment, isn't it? I don't even understand why it's still an argument. Yes, Tony Romo I think is a fantastic quarterback, but this kid is doing... It's incredible what he's doing.
I don't think it's an argument anymore. Not after Des stepped up and Dak hit him twice, 2 touchdowns was it? One obviously to win the game.
Yeah.
A big one early in the first half. There's no more creases to iron out if you're looking from a Cowboys perspective towards Dak Prescott. The guy showed his mustard today. He really did. Like I've not seen him. We've not seen him have to really go against the top flight D like we had on Sunday night. He went up against the Eagles. The Eagles have got a very frisky front seven.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult to remain composed in that
Fletcher
scenario.
Cox is bad.
Fletcher
Nasty
Cox,
man.
Benny Logan. You keep reeling him off. Jordan Hicks as linebacker. I mean, Chip Kelly got absolutely annihilated for that pick. And I think it was a second round pick from Texas. But the guy runs that linebacking quotes now. They really put pressure on Dak and he answered the call. Fourth quarter, 10-point deficit. You march the team out. Obviously he's got. Everyone always goes on, but he's got this, he's got that, he's got the best offensive line in the league, he's got one of the best running backs.
Yeah, it always helps.
He's got Des Bryant. Yeah, but Tony Romo has those people as well. It's no different.
Exactly.
You can't remove this guy from the lineup when he's won 6 straight games.
No, and he gives you the rushing ability that Romo doesn't, which of course opens up more routes for Zeke Elliott.
He's physically more sturdy than Tony Romo. Why would you put Tony Romo back in 2 games after remove him again because he's hurt himself?
I worry every time I watch Tony Romo get sacked. Every time he goes down. I love the guy. I think he's great.
Everybody loves Tony Romo.
Yeah.
And there's a possibility that this is Dak's team now and Tony Romo will find himself maybe in Chicago next year or somewhere along those lines.
Other side of the ball, lack of support sabotaging Wentz, Philadelphia Inquirer. We're talking, we opened this discussion about, that Matthews had said, is it the new Brady man in Wentz, Prescott? We like Carson Wentz. We like what we've seen so far.
He's a geek, but we like him.
We like him. Sunday Night Football, completed 32 of 43 passes, 74%. Only 202 yards through the air, 4.7 yards per attempt. But it's these receivers, isn't it? These receivers, they can't get open. They can't beat defenders. 5 drops on offense. There's no option downfield. There's no real options why Doyle Green Beckham's in there now and he's getting used to the playbook.
He should be a vertical threat, Doyle Green Beckham.
He should be a vertical threat.
He's never been the quickest to pick up a playbook, and that's why he's not in Tennessee anymore. The biggest weapon that both Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia offense has in general, and I'm sure Sam will agree with me, is Sproulsy, Darren Sproles.
Sproulsy.
I'll not have a bad word against Darren Sproles.
Absolutely. He runs like a regular running back. You would never think that. He's basically a satellite back. He's undersized. They try and give him the ball out in space, and he causes problems. But he's almost...
finds gaps.
Even in the passing game, he's very useful across the middle and in short yard situations. But there's nobody who can take the top of a defence, and because of that, you can and they struggle to work over the middle as well. So the problem you've got is you've got wideouts like Jordan Matthews and Nelson Aguilar and Dorian Green Beckham, and they're going to go maybe 8 or 9 yards deep, and they're going to come back on curl routes or out routes or something along those lines. And your short passes constantly on all the time. There's nothing to scare the back four.
And it is. I think it's very conservative play calling, and it became very obvious play calling. There was a moment towards midway, second half of the fourth quarter. 3rd down, Philadelphia, chance to get the ball into field goal range, which would have put them 13 points up. Probably would have killed that game. But the Cowboys knew what was coming. The play call, Sproles snuffed out, loss of 6 yards, took them back out of field goal range after punts. This offense needs something. Is that something, Torrey Smith?
I don't think so. I'm not sure how much of a deep threat Torrey Smith is nowadays. I mean, his game has always been get beyond the linebackers and find some space, but he's never been a Mike Wallace kind of character where he will just run by people. He's not a bad wide receiver, and obviously he's a forgotten man out in San Francisco, but I mean, they've already traded for Dorial Green Beckham. How many trades do the Eagles want to make before they think, the biggest problem with the wide receiver core is that Chip Kelly picked Nelson Aguilar in the first round 2 drafts ago. Well, I mean, he was the only person in that draft at the time I figured was a reach. Like, why were they picking him there? He was not good enough to be picked there. And as always, in 2014 and 2015, there's a stream of wide receivers throughout those drafts that people could have gone out and got in later rounds. They did not do it. They just need to find themselves someone. They're just going to have to wait out a year. Carson Wentz is going to struggle for a year, but another reason why he has to get the ball out of his hands quickly and he's always short intermediate routes is his offensive line. Struggling this year. Jason Peters is not the Jason Peters that everyone knows, and losing Lane Johnson to a pet violation for like 8 or 9 games is nuts.
Yeah, and Doug Peterson wants to run the Kansas City offense, doesn't he? He wants that running game going. Ryan Matthews has been, he's sitting on the naughty step. Peterson's come out, I think, and said that he wants Sproles as his starting running back now.
He's a better guy right now. He just is.
He is, but we know Darren Sproles isn't a 3-down back. We know he's not going to be able to do that heavy lifting, get you those hard yards. He'll get you some fantastic yards, but he won't get you the hard
Remember
yards.
to often sprinkle his magic fairy dust. Not fairy dust, whatever he does. Sprinkle his magic about, but don't give him the running 2 yards every time.
No, he's not the
Trying to work
workhorse.
the-
He learnt all his
the-
magic in San Diego, to be fair.
To the Georgia Dome. What a great game. We loved this one, didn't we? This was a classic shootout. Two great quarterbacks on fire. Falcons 33, Packers 32. Great to see Aaron Rodgers looking good again, because that offense, let's be honest, had looked a bit boring up until Sunday.
Yeah, everyone's happy to see him third again. Well, not everyone, I imagine, but no, lovely to see. He's getting his arm working, but he's up against someone else who's been pretty much magic all season as well. Last few seasons, got the stats on them. Rodgers 246 yards through, 74% completion, got 4 touchdowns down. But then Ryan matching it, 288 yards, 80% completion for 3 touchdowns. You look at the wide receivers they were chucking at. Jordy Nelson for Rodgers doing, well, he had 9 targets, 4 receptions, but 94 yards.
Nice to see Jordy Nelson getting back involved, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. No, it's,
Probably
Bit of
a
a
missing
favourite.
piece for maybe that passing game.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was going to say then Sanu on the Falcons, 10 targets, 9 receptions. And
Most of them-
both of them getting touchdowns, but we're seeing they're the 2 primary wide receivers. Like they were just making hay.
He's really stepped up Mohamed Sanu, hasn't
He has, yeah. The Falcons took a lot of heat for spending some money on him in free agency. Like the Bengals were always wondering how good were Marvin Jones and Mo Sanu.
Yeah.
Because they're playing alongside AJ Green. AJ Green's taking double teams, so they've got one guy to beat off the line of scrimmage, and away they go. Both have done fantastic work in the respective cities. Marvin Jones is probably just about still the number 1 receiver in Detroit, even though Golden Tate's coming back. And
Deep threat, isn't he?
He is, and Mo Sanu, like Julio Jones got nicked in this game. He got beat up, and he was pretty much rendered useless for the last 25 minutes of the game. Was Julio Jones?
Yeah.
Sanu stepped up, and there was some crazy stat on his last drive. Like he holding. Do you have to start like 5 passes in the
Steady on,
in the
though.
final?
He's got a few
final
stats.
drive
I've
alone.
got an entirely different stat which has nothing to do with.
We should also point out that what's the debate around his name, Sam? The pronunciation of his name.
What, Sanu?
No, Julio.
Oh, it's either. It's a bit like Sheen Bean, isn't it? But he's either Julio Jones, Julio Jones. You've got to pick one.
Okay, yeah. He's JJ or Hey.
Yeah. For me, Julio Jones.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
But whatever you're going to call it, pick one of those 2 options. Like I say, it's like Sheen Bean or Sean Bean, Sean Bourne. It's one of those.
Very similar with your name, though. Is it
Wow.
is it Sam Aykroyd or Sam Aykroyd? Which one?
That's a very good point.
Well, no, it's a terrible point.
What wasn't a terrible point was what Si
Flag on the play there, Sam.
was what Si muttered to me as you were talking, Sam. No offence, but you know,
Yeah, no.
got to keep this thing rolling.
on tape.
Second year in the Kyle Shanahan offense, it's clicking, isn't it?
Oh, he's Kyle Shanahan is in line again for potential coordinator of the year award. Everywhere he's been, Cleveland aside, to be fair, he has dominated in Houston. He had Matt Schaub throwing well. As soon as he goes, what happens to Matt Schaub? Falls off the map. He goes to where did he go next? He went to Washington and made RG3 the rookie of the year.
Yep.
Now he's in Atlanta. It took him a year.
He was
to
in
be fair.
Cleveland for a year, and that was the year when Cleveland very nearly didn't have a losing record. Do you remember?
It was a good year, but I mean, he struggled obviously to impose the way he wanted.
yeah.
He was out there quick enough. Last year was a bit tough trying to get people the way he wanted them. That running game he managed to get going, but the passing game came this year basically. And Matt Ryan is, I said, well, to you guys, whether or not is Matt Ryan done in terms of is this his ceiling now? But I've ultimately been proved wrong.
Yep.
He's back to what we all hoped he would be, and that is spraying the ball around, getting Julio in the game, and now he's got a barrage of weapons as well alongside him. Mo Sanu, to me, is one of the greatest free agent pickups of the year. Tyler Gabriel, so to say, Austin Hooper, a tight end out the draft. He's got options, and the running game, obviously, Devonta Freeman and and the Indiana guy, what's he called?
Well, Tevin Coleman's injured at the moment,
Coleman's
isn't he? He's out at the moment, but he'll be back.
They are multifaceted on that offense, and I think the most important improvement is their offensive line. Getting Alex Mack from Cleveland was ridiculous, and seeing Matthews grow for another year at left tackle.
Alex Mack.
Alex Mack.
Just Mack. Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well done.
Good Scott.
Tough for that one.
Good Scottish name. Yeah, no, it is, and just on the point we made earlier about the running back tandem, I think, in fairness, Freeman and Coleman might want to put their hands up and stake a claim for that crown.
Yeah, oi Tennessee.
Yeah,
look over here.
Yeah, over here. And let's finish, shall we, on Monday Night Football. The Chicago Bears 20, Minnesota Vikings 10. Plenty of work left to do, but for one night the Bears showed promise, says the Chicago Tribune, and that's right. But is this us seeing the Vikings for what they really are?
I thought the Vikings were going to be. Were it this season?
Well, they were it for the first.
Missed that result, so that's quite interesting.
They were it for the first 4 or 5 weeks, and they were it on the defense. This is what I find interesting about this game. This was Bills an opportunity for the Vikings. What is it John Gruden called them? The which I love, the purple rain. Purple rain.
No,
defense.
yeah, he loves anything like that.
Yeah, he
John
does
Gruden.
like that. He was straight in on that. So they were going to maul the returning Jay Cutler, who'd been out for weeks, and is Jay Cutler, so there was going to be interceptions galore. Didn't happen. It was the defence on the opposite side that I thought made the headlines. The Bears' defensive line, fantastic. Pernell McPhee, ably supported, by Akeem Hicks, the rookie Leonard Floyd, sacking Sam Bradford on 5 occasions. It was the Chicago D that made a statement last night, Si.
I think, to be fair to the Chicago defence, they are getting better, they're getting healthy. It's great to see Pernell McPhee back, and obviously the rookie Leonard Floyd coming through. He's a speed demon, he's just a sack artist, essentially. Yeah. And in this game, it's an ideal game for him because Minnesota do not have an offensive line. They have nothing stopping Sam Bradford
painful.
And protection. There's nothing there for them. And this is the problem with the Minnesota Vikings. You can do what you want. Teddy Bridgewater goes down. He's out for the year and possibly more. They managed to work a trade for Sam Bradford, which was derided. And I wouldn't say it was too happy with it either if I was a Vikings fan, but it worked. Sam Bradford is definitely an upgrade on Sean Hill, and they keep rolling. But how many people are they going to have to lose before it starts working? And I think we're seeing it now. Like, they played Philadelphia, good defense. They managed to get after Sam Bradford.
Yep.
The game's over. If Sam Bradford has too much pressure in his face, they are not going to win games. They've got no running game to rely on, so they can't.
He's been sacked 11 times in 2 weeks now, Sam Bradford. Worrying is in order after Vikings get dominated for second straight game. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune. The league's worst rushing attack, Asiata and my old mate Ronnie Hillman turned up. 57 yards on 18 carries. Poor pass protection. God, isn't it amazing how we're now, talking about the Vikings in this way when 3 weeks ago it was
Everyone's getting excited.
Story, wasn't it?
I'm a lot more comfortable with this chat about the Vikings not doing it.
Yeah, you prefer that, do you?
Well,
It just feels more right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels more at home with
Yeah. And this was without, Kyle Long and Josh Sitton, both out, both guards for the Bears, both out, and still the defense missing tackles all game.
That was the one surprising thing. But if you look carefully, Jay Cutler has killed the Vikings over his career.
Yeah.
It's the one team that Jay Cutler can come out and feel some kind of confidence with. Jay Cutler gets a bad rep, and rightly so. He is not good enough to be leading an offense on a consistent basis. He requires an excellent offensive coordinator like a Kyle Shanahan, like an Adam Gase that he had last year, just to be serviceable. And that's his major problem, I would say. But
And
he does it against the Vikings.
Do you think that they have that in Darryl Loggins?
I think he's
No relation to Kenny.
Dowell.
Dowell.
Loggins.
No.
Loggins.
Dowell.
Like a dowel of
DOWELL.
Why not?
Yeah.
I think I'm not disparaging Dwayne Loggins, but I will say that it's a step down from Adam Gase at the very least.
Yep.
But look at that running game. What can you say about that?
What can you say
Jordan
about
Howard? As soon as Preston Colonel's bin him off the fantasy team, he rushes for over 200
He
yards.
does. What can I say about
That's
that?
the first time that anyone in a Chicago Bears uniform has rushed for 200 yards in the history.
200 yards. Wow. Combining some catches as well there, of course. But yeah, absolutely.
You didn't see it coming.
Jay Cutler, 20 of 31, 252 yards. Looked good. Nice, really nice play. I don't know if you saw Nice play. Zach Miller, second quarter, on the touchdown drive.
Didn't see
They all
it,
come
sorry.
chasing him in the backfield and he released it through the middle. Really, really clever. Nice play. Vikings moving forward. Still a playoff-bound team?
Got to worry about it, and I tell you what, that division is wide open. If to be fair, the Packers look like the last 2 games they've started clicking again. If they are what they are, and that is like a 4-4 team right now, if they still struggle for some consistency, the Bears are probably out of it. But the Vikings are going to struggle to win games where they're playing a good defense. The Detroit Lions are not out of this. They've already won 3 games. They're only 2 games. Well, they're only 1 game behind the Packers and 2 games behind the Vikings, who are really struggling now.
Yep.
People have found the weaknesses on the Vikings defense, the Vikings offense. This could turn out purely because no team is really taking a grasp of it. It could turn out to be one of the most interesting divisions in the league.
Vikings have a window. We saw last year a team with an exceptional defence can go all the way with a barely serviceable quarterback. No disrespect to Peyton Manning. Will the Vikings see this as the chance? Will they look for a trade? Joe Thomas, Joe Staley? Do we think?
Maybe. Obviously we had a massive trade yesterday with Jamie Collins moving
Of course, yeah.
from the Patriots to the Browns. But it's not often you get blockbuster trades like that. The funny thing is with these 2 tackles, Joe Staley and Joe Thomas, is that you'd think that they want to do the Tony Gonzalez, Jared Allen thing and move to a team that has a chance of winning a Super Bowl in the career. They actually don't. They want to stay with the teams that they played for years. They want to be part of they want that folklore of playing for one team. They love it where they are, and that's to be respected. And if you're a team trading for these guys, you want someone who wants to come and play for you. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Browns will give up Joe Thomas for anything less than maybe an early second-round pick. I think the 49ers might take something a bit less for
We'll take anything we can get right now, to be honest.
Staley, but quite honestly, I don't see either of them moving before Wednesday.
Before we finish, it would be wrong of us to not mention the retirement yesterday of Andre Johnson. All-time NFL records, 9th on receptions, 10th receiving yards, with some terrible quarterbacks throwing him the ball. He was the man.
Yeah, Megatron, you can't fault him.
It wasn't Megatron. Stop saying he's called. I hate you.
Do you want to explain the context of this Megatron, Andre Johnson?
I don't know why it's called Megatron. Is it?
He's not.
Great.
Calvin Johnson is called Megatron. I keep telling you this.
This is
Andre. Oh, you.
Oh, right.
And we are the Collapsing Pocket podcast, Sam. You remember that? Yeah. We are in Manchester. It's been great, sort of, being around this table with you this evening. We'll be
believe
back
you did
next week. Thank you very much. And that's it for now.
See you later.
Smokestack spitting black soot into the sooty sky.